Let's be honest. If someone lingers in your thoughts long after the conversation ends, after the phone goes quiet, after the room settles into silence, that isn't weakness. That's impact. And most men don't realize this until it's already slipped past them. Because while you're questioning why she hasn't reached out, why her energy shifted, why her absence feels louder than her presence ever did, something far deeper has already taken place beneath the surface. Something psychological, something that can't be undone. I'm speaking to you from a place that sees both sides, not to flatter you, not to criticize you, but to tell you what most men never hear from a woman who understands how attraction actually forms. When a woman stays in your mind, when her voice replays on its own, when moments with her feel unresolved, it's not because she's extraordinary, it's because something inside you was activated. And here's the uncomfortable truth. The same mechanism works in reverse. Women don't bond the way men do. Men attach through presence, repetition, reassurance. Women attach through emotional contrast, through moments that slightly disturb their internal equilibrium and awaken curiosity. When you stay in her mind, it isn't because you tried harder, it's because you interrupted a pattern she didn't even know she was living in. Think about the men she forgets. They're polite, predictable, emotionally available on demand. They over-explain themselves. They chase clarity. They seek validation, and the moment something more emotionally stimulating enters her world, they vanish from her memory. But the man who stays doesn't beg for attention. He doesn't rush connection. He doesn't unravel when uncertainty appears. He leaves space, and space is where imagination lives. Here's what no one tells you. A woman's mind isn't captured by consistency alone. It's captured by contrast, by how you made her feel seen without being consumed, by how you didn't react when she pulled back, by how you didn't demand reassurance when silence showed up. That restraint creates tension, and tension creates memory. If she stays in your mind, it means you were emotionally present without being emotionally dependent, grounded yet warm, interested without being desperate. That balance is rare enough that the nervous system remembers it, rare enough that even when she's with someone else, something feels slightly off because her system compares, not consciously, but instinctively. Men believe winning is about possession, locking things down, securing certainty, but psychologically, the real shift happens much earlier. It happens when her thoughts return to you without effort. When she wonders what you're doing without asking, when your absence feels heavier than another man's presence, that's when the dynamic changes. And this is the part most men misunderstand. If she stays in your mind, you've already won, not because you have her, but because you didn't lose yourself. You maintained your frame. You didn't emotionally overinvest before trust existed. You allowed connection to unfold instead of forcing it to bloom prematurely. This isn't manipulation, it's self-control, emotional discipline. The understanding that attraction isn't built by convincing someone it is, built by allowing them to discover how they feel around you, and discovery always leaves a deeper imprint than persuasion. So if her presence is lingering in your thoughts right now, don't panic, don't chase closure, don't rush resolution. Observe instead. Because the same psychology that keeps her in your mind is what determines whether you become unforgettable or just another lesson she barely recalls. Most men ruin this moment. They feel a woman lingering mentally and panic. They dissect every message, every pause, every word. They try to force clarity, force connection, force attention. And what they don't realize is the moment you start forcing her mind, the moment you try to prove your worth, you stop being memorable. You become predictable, ordinary, forgettable. And in female psychology, forgettable is fatal. Here's a truth few admit. When a woman can't stop thinking about you, it's because something about your presence disrupted her emotional balance. Not in a toxic way, but in a way that sparked curiosity, tension, and engagement. Now think about the men who fail. They make everything too easy. No mystery. No friction, no contrast, and without friction, the mind doesn't linger, it moves on. But when you are both intriguing and grounded, she remembers. She replays moments she didn't fully understand. She questions choices she thought were settled, and without realizing it, her emotional energy keeps circling back to you. This is where men make a fatal error. They think winning means capturing, possessing, so they text endlessly, reply instantly, explain themselves, fill the gaps that should remain open. But women don't fall for availability. They fall for presence, presence backed by a life, by self-sufficiency, by emotional independence. That's what keeps you in her thoughts. Not logic, not explanations, not desperation. Your ability to exist as a man who isn't dependent on her approval, yet still matters to her emotionally. Notice how some women stay in your mind long after interactions that seemed minor. That's not random. Moments where you stayed calm under tension, confident without arrogance, humorous without neediness. Those moments get recorded in the subconscious, not your words, your energy. And that energy sticks. That stickiness isn't built by chasing, it's built by emotional control combined with space for imagination. Now let's talk timing. Men assume if a woman doesn't show immediate interest, she isn't invested. That's a mistake. Female psychology moves through cycles of curiosity, reflection, and subconscious testing. The woman who stays in your mind may not be pulling you closer intentionally. She may be processing, comparing, evaluating, unconsciously. If you react impulsively, you collapse that cycle. If you stay grounded, you strengthen it. The longer she reflects, the deeper the imprint becomes. Here's what most men never grasp. Emotional impact outperforms physical presence every time. You can spend hours together and leave no trace if everything felt predictable. But one emotionally charged exchange, one moment of quiet confidence, one instance where you didn't bend for validation that stays. It echoes. That echo is your leverage. So the next time she occupies your thoughts, stop trying to control the outcome. Stop obsessing over timing. Stop begging for certainty. Instead, study the emotional footprint you left without abandoning yourself. That footprint is far more powerful than any attempt to persuade or manipulate. If you understand this, you don't chase her. She chases the memory of you. Most men underestimate the power of absence. They believe constant presence keeps interest alive. But the truth is the opposite. The more you chase, the faster you fade. The more space you allow, the louder your presence becomes in her imagination. Women don't just connect, they reflect, they replay, they test emotionally. Absence amplifies impact. When you're overly available, her mind rests. There's nothing to explore. But when you remain calm, centered, and emotionally contained, her subconscious starts working, wondering, comparing, reflecting. That uncertainty isn't fear, it's curiosity. And curiosity is magnetic. Emotional impact isn't about grand gestures. It's about consistency in your frame paired with unpredictability in your energy. Warm without bending, kind without collapsing, steady through her fluctuations. That's what plants memory deeply. Women evaluate men in layers: attraction, value, confidence. But what keeps her thinking about you alone is emotional resonance. Feeling safe, yet challenged. Valued yet unsettled enough to question her own reactions. That emotional signature makes a man unforgettable. Most men try to shortcut this. They try to control outcomes, interpret silence as rejection, forget that the brain measures energy, not time. When she stays in your mind, it's because you broke emotional patterns quietly, subtly, permanently. This is why emotionally disciplined men win without noise. They don't demand attention. They don't chase certainty. They build themselves, their lives, their direction. And paradoxically, the more they do this, the more she returns mentally. So, if she's in your head right now, don't react. Build, grow, refine. Become a man whose absence isn't emptiness, its presence transformed. Because the mind lingers on what feels rare, unpredictable, and emotionally meaningful. If she stays in your mind, it isn't a test of her loyalty, it's a test of your emotional mastery. Master that, and you've already won.